Thank you for listening to the Midwest Horse Fair Outside the Arena podcast, where we share wonderful real-life stories and expert advice from equine clinicians and entertainers from around the country who have been a part of the largest three-day horse fair in the USA. Our first series will include several interviews conducted during the 2025 fair. This is Kelly Kenny, the Midwest Horse Fair Coliseum announcer. We hope you'll stick with us to learn more about the fascinating lives of these experts outside the arena.
Welcome to Outside the Arena, the Midwest Horse Fair podcast. We are here today with Amber Marshall. If you could just start out by telling us how you got started in horses.
It happened many, many years ago. I think like most young girls, just as a horse crazy little girl who just wanted to be around them. And I was at a fair with my parents and there was a little horse merry-go-round type thing. And I said, I want to go ride the pony. I want to go ride the pony. Like I think most young kids do. And so I went on, and then when it was time to be done, I put up quite the stink. And my parents were like, well, we have to go, but maybe we'll contact the owner of these ponies and see if we can go out on the weekend and ride these ponies. So I was very fortunate at age 5 to lease my first pony. Tony the Pony was his name. And I went out to the farm every weekend that we could. And I got to know horses from that moment on, and that kind of sparked my lifelong interest.
How would you describe yourself? More actress, horse person? What's that naming feature of yours?
You know, it's funny. I'm a Gemini, and I believe that I'm every sense of the word. I'm very much the sign of twins. And I think that's why this role was so perfect for me, because I love animals and I have a very just introverted animal side to me. And I just want to spend time alone with my animals. But then I also love engagement with people and the acting side of it, and, you know, putting on those two different worlds and bringing them together. So I would say that, you know, this role was just perfect because I do love animals and I do love acting, and here's something where I can bring those two passions together.
So now, was this kind of like a Cinderella story for you? Did you read the Heartland books?
I did. It's funny. I wasn't a big reader as a kid. I didn't immerse myself in many novels, but I had 3 of the Heartland books and I read those 3. And I was always a horse crazy girl. And I think that, you know, growing up, we all have stories, whether we read the books or we just create these stories with our animals. And now I get to do that as an adult. So that's pretty cool.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been at this for 18 seasons. So I'm sure there's been a lot of character development over the years, but how have you grown as a person throughout this role on the show?
You know, it's a great question. And looking back at it, it's fairly uncommon, especially in the world of television, that you're on the same show year after year for almost 2 decades. And I believe that most of our growth as human beings happens in our 20s. That's kind of when we're establishing who we are, who we want to be around, what we want to do with our life. And all of my 20s were spent on a film set. But it wasn't just any film set. It was one where I was surrounded by good people, animals, amazing scenery. So I feel like it really shaped who I am and who I want to be. And it uprooted my life. I was born and raised in London, Ontario. I moved out west for the show. I immersed myself in cowboy culture, the Western world. And I felt like that's where I truly belonged. And I say that Alberta adopted me, and it really did. As soon as I went there, I felt this is my home. You know, I don't want to leave here, whether this show goes on for 5 more years or no more years. This is where I want to be.
So you're here at the Midwest Horse Fair, and Dan James is here. You have a close connection with him as well. Tell us a little bit about, you know, your relationship and how that works on the show and things that maybe you've learned and picked up from him.
Mm-hmm. I think that everyone we're around inspires us in certain ways. And there is no short of amazement when it comes to Liberty and Liberty horses and their trainers. And I think for myself, I was first exposed to Liberty horsemanship in 2013, maybe a little before then. And it was in season 5 of the show. And I just remember watching it and being like, wow, that's just a true connection between a horse and their person. And they understand each other and they're feeding off body language from one another. And how cool is that? You know, you're not you're not sitting on them, you're not pulling reins, you're not kicking, there's no amount of physical force. It's just this natural communication. And I was so intrigued by that, being a horse person and not being around that in the past. I thought, this is something I really need to dive into. I need to learn more of this. And so season 5 was my character's journey into the Liberty world, but it was also my own personal journey. So that's a very unique case of life imitating art, and we were parallel in our journeys. And so then fast forward a few years, and Dan came out to set with his horses, and I thought, holy cow, I've seen a lot of really cool and talented people, but there's a whole nother level of connection here. And I was just so inspired by it. And it wasn't just the connection, it was the calmness and just the presence that was there. And I thought, wow, I've seen a lot of different methods, a lot of different people who are very good at what they do, but I've never seen anyone who is so calm and stoic when sometimes there's a lot of stuff going on, right? It can be chaotic on set. And I recognized that his horses appreciated that. They looked to him and went, okay, Dad's calm. This is good. And I took a lot from that. And I really try to hold that when, things are going on around us and it can be chaotic. And you say, you know what, let's be present in the moment, and let's just take a moment to quiet ourselves.
So then how much prep do you spend outside of filming to get ready for some of those scenes where you're doing a lot of Liberty work?
At this point, none. So our schedules are very tight. They're very hectic. When Dan comes in with his horses, he comes in usually the day before, and then I'm on set all day. So I don't get a chance to go and work with the horses. We try, if it's a big scene that involves a lot of hands-on work from myself, I'll try to get a couple, hours at least before that scene to work with the horses right there on set and say, okay, how are we going to accomplish this? And because we also want the horses to feel comfortable and confident there too. And if they have never worked with me, or, I don't know their cues, they're not going to succeed. So we want to make sure that we put that time in, but usually it's only on the day of that we're filming.
So something that makes you unique in this industry is that not only you are a horse owner and horse enthusiast in your own personal life, as well as your role on Heartland. And so how has that impacted you in your own horses and your own horsemanship?
I think it's made me appreciate my own horses a lot. And I work with a lot of different horses on set, and they're constantly changing. And sometimes it's like, okay, I've never met you, I've never ridden you, and here we are jumping into a scene and I have to jump around a course or whatever. And it's like, it's always that transition of getting to know a horse. And I don't have that opportunity sometimes. So when I get to come home and get on my own horses that I know and they've carried me around for many years, it's just this, it's a sense of home. It's a sense of knowing your friends and just being comfortable with them. And I think that's really what anything that you do, if it can make you appreciate what you have at home, I think that's really special too.
So speaking about what you do at home, you've recently started kind of a new business with your boutique and all that kind of stuff. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So something that I have always loved is real estate. And that was kind of what took up my time in between filming. I would look at different fixer-uppers, things like that. And so I've never been interested in commercial properties because I thought, it's a lot of work. You're dealing with a whole different type of tenant, that kind of thing. But this cute little boutique store came up for sale, and I thought, I really, really like that building. I'm going to buy it. And I did a full gut throughout the winter. I had to rip everything out of that place. Like it was a bit of a mess. And so that was what I put all my love and attention into. And then I thought, as I was doing it, I'm like, I don't want to just flip this building. For some reason, there was an attachment to it. So I got thinking as I was in, painting and doing different things, I'm like, what can this be? What can I turn this into? And so the evolution of a store was actually kind of the cart before the horse in the sense, because I didn't buy the building to open a store. I bought the building to either flip or have just a rental property. And then I kind of just fell in love with it and thought, what can we do with this space? And that's how the store was born.
So I've read that you do some producing as well. Is that through Heartland, or are you producing your own stuff?
So not yet. I would love to produce my own stuff in the future, but my schedule is so hectic that I try to focus all my time on Heartland when it's going on. And then when it's not filming, I'm traveling around the world, meeting new people and seeing different horse culture. So for me, the production side of it is I love seeing how things work. I love the mechanics of it, how everything gets put together. And there's so many pieces of the puzzle. And I think for me, it was understanding that. It was not just, okay, I show up and hit my mark and say my lines, but what went into this to get me to this moment. So that's when I started to dive into the production side of it and go to all the meetings and understand, so we went through 7 different prop meetings just to decide the color of this microphone. And there's so many little things and decisions that are made before we even get on set that I find so interesting. And then it helps me understand my role, because sometimes I'd show up and I'd say, this doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing this? Oh, because there were 17 meetings about this very thing. Yeah. I got it now.
Well, you've got quite the momentum here in the United States, and you've got a ton of fans here at the Midwest Horse Fair. A lot of them, I would say, young girls and young women that are interested in. So I think maybe speak to them. That is there a piece of advice that you would like to give them, or maybe is there one misconception people have about your line of work that you would like to speak on?
I think in general, horses are good for the soul. And everyone who comes to the Midwest Horse Fair knows that. They're coming for a reason, because they're drawn to horses. And I believe that a lot of people fall in love with Heartland for that very reason. It's a calming presence. It's something that it doesn't matter what happened in your day or what's going on in your life. You can watch a horse, even just on TV, and feel this gentle side in your soul. And you go, okay, that's what I want to feel. That's what I gravitate towards. And I've been really fortunate in my life to have horses in my life for a very long time. So I know what that feels like firsthand. And if I can share that experience, even through a screen, I think that that's really rewarding.
Is there more Heartland on the way? Where can we see you?
Well, I honestly hope that Heartland goes forever. I love the project, and I think that it really resonates with a large audience around the world. You know, it's not just North America. I get people that write to me from all over saying, you've really helped me, whether it be on a healing journey or just an exposure to horses and just a more natural way of life, which I think in today's society is really important. So I do hope the show goes on forever, but we get the green light when we get the green light, and that's when we go forward. So fingers crossed on that.
So for those that are just catching the bug, how would they connect with you, the show? How do they follow you?
Yeah. Well, it's really exciting to be here in the US because it's a Canadian show, and it's been amazing to watch the journey of the season kind of travel throughout the world, really, and to hear how people can connect with it no matter where they live. And I think that's something that the animals bring to the show too. It's not just about the characters and the family. It's about the scenery. It's about the horses, and it brings so many people together, because I think we can all agree that nice scenery and animals just are a good thing to watch on television. But as far as connecting, I think the best way to stay in touch with new episodes is to check out my social media. So my Instagram is Amber_Marshall_farm, because I do love to share what I have at home too. You know, a lot of people wonder, do you really live on a farm? Do you really have animals? And so I like to share pictures of my horses and cows and chickens and dogs and cats and all those things. And then through opening up the store, I was able to meet a lot more people and kind of reflect my own life and style through a brick and mortar store, which has been really rewarding as well. And then there's different platforms to find and follow Heartland throughout the world, depending on where you live. But here in the US, there's Up Faith and Family. So it's strong on that channel. And they've been really great as partners over the years too. And they'll come out and do some behind the scenes footage and things like that as well.
Well, we want to thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today on the Outside the Arena Midwest Horse Fair podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
The Midwest Horse Fair is proudly presented by the Wisconsin State Horse Council Incorporated for over 40 years. Net proceeds from the fair are used by the Wisconsin State Horse Council to promote the equine industry through leadership, education, service, and communication, as well as taking a proactive role in the future growth and development of the equine industry. Thanks again for listening to the Midwest Horse Fair Outside the Arena podcast, where we share stories from expert horse clinicians and entertainers. We hope that you enjoyed this episode and continue to tune in every month and learn about the lives and hear valuable advice from the folks we are proud to have join us at the fair. Learn more about the Midwest Horse Fair at MidwestHorseFair.com.
It's not a horse show, it's a horse fair, and you gotta be there. It's the great Midwest horse fair.